Folks, if I could have everybody's attention, please. First off, there were a lot of hundreds, and I expected a lot of zeros. So I am continually amazed. I am continually amazed at how I expect one thing on a quiz and get something different. There are so many times when I expect you guys to struggle on a topic and you do exceedingly well, and there are probably even more times where I expect you to do exceedingly well and you struggle. So the purpose of these quizzes is in part to illuminate me as to what you understand, what you're getting, and where you need help, because where I assume you need help is not necessarily where you need help. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go over the quiz. And after we go over the quiz, we'll start in on today's lesson. So, without any further ado, okay. First off, we haven't done anything like this. And questions like this are very popular on the regions. So, we did teach you the algebraic steps, but I never did a word problem with you. The word problems we're going to work more on in quizzes and in the next couple of days. So I wanted to see how well you could do on a word problem without me pedagogically holding your hand, so to speak. Emily and Maya each have the same number of pets, dogs and cats. For Emily, 5 times the number of dogs plus twice the number of cats is 19. For Maya, twice the number of dogs and 7 times the number of cats is 20. Whichever one of you sees Maya first, tell her we missed her and that she made today's quiz. Okay, so the problem is if I add them up right here, it doesn't do me any good. I would get 7D plus 9C is 39. And there are lots of combinations that work for that. In fact, if I graphed it, it would be a line, and every point on that line is a combination of numbers that satisfies the equation. So if you happen to pick 3 and 2, that's great, but you could have picked 4 and something else or 5 and something else, and they all would have worked. Now, what we learned yesterday was this thing called the elimination method. And we can choose to get rid of either variable. It doesn't make a difference which variable we're going to do. Guys, can I have your attention here? This is a really big thing. All right? It doesn't make a difference which variable I attempt to get rid of. I'm going to try to get rid of the C's. So I asked myself, what's the least common multiple of 2 and 7? In other words, what's the smallest number? You could choose a bigger one than the smaller one. It would still work. That they both divide into. And they both divide into 14. So I'm going to multiply the top one by 7. And now, a lot of people multiply the bottom one by 2, and then they subtract it. A lot of people multiply the bottom one by 2, and then they add it. And if you multiply the bottom by 2 and add, you don't get rid of the variables. So I like to add, I don't like to subtract. So I think the cleanest way to do it is to multiply the bottom by -2. And that will allow you to add. But you could do +2 and just subtract. A lot of people did it in class, and they got it perfectly correct. So if I distribute to 7, I'm going to get 35D plus 14C is, I believe that's 133. Then I'm going to distribute to -2, and I'm going to get -4D minus 14C equals -40. Now, there were 1 or 2 of you who did the distribution perfectly on the left, but didn't distribute to the numbers on the right. I think maybe you, Francesca? Yeah. Make sure you do it to all of the numbers across, okay? Now, I can combine the equations. 35D minus 4D, or plus -4D, is 31D. These guys go die, equals 93, and then I divide by 31. God bless. And I get the fact that there have to be 3 dogs, okay? And then I go to either equation, original equation. I'll go to the top one. Numbers are a little smaller. Smaller numbers are easier. Plugging in a 3 for D. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2C is 19 minus the 15. Die. 2C is 4. Divide by 2. C is 2. Okay? So 3 dogs, 2 cats. Now I said before I passed out this quiz that you guys were really going to hate me in a few minutes, and I'm shocked at how many people did really, really well. I expected tons of zeros. But I also expected on day 2 tons of hundreds. Okay? So I would strongly recommend that you just go over this one more time before the test, or before the quiz tomorrow, I'm sorry, and I think you'll do it really well. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, are we good? All right, excellent day. Now, solve for x. So again, when it says solve for x, what are you saying to yourself? Get x alone. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply. And the way I'm going to do that is to put the 4d over 1, multiply here and then here, and I'm going to get 3ax plus 2b equals 4cd. Subtract the 2b from both sides, and I get 3ax equals, God bless, 4cd minus 2b, and then I need to divide by 3a. So it's a really ugly answer. X equals 4cd minus 2b over 3a. But that is the answer nonetheless. In algebra, we often and very frequently get really ugly looking answers. Okay, any questions? Are we good? Yeah? Okay. Next up. The sum of two numbers is 25. What are the numbers? Now, Emma, I should say, this is kind of getting at your answer yesterday. The sum of two numbers is 25, or your answer on the quiz, I'm sorry. So that means that x plus y is 25. Okay? There's my equation with two variables that represents the situation. Now, to solve, I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I get y equals 25, I better write it, negative x plus 25. So then the slope is negative 1, and the y-intercept is 25. So, here we go. I'm going to make this go up by 2's, okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. No, I'm not. I'm going to make it go up by 5's. Let's see here. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then, if I go down 1, I'm not really going down 1. What am I really going down? No. I'm going down 5, because each one counted as 5's. So if I go down 5 over 1, it would be too much. So I really want to go down 5 units over, now let's do this. Ready? Here, here, to here, to here. The bottom line is I want to be right there. At 5, I want to be equal to it. So there are lots of combinations here. There's 0.25, there's 1.24, there's 2.23, there's 3.22, there's 5.20, God bless, there's 10.15. No, I know I missed some of them, but the thing is, there are many, many, many combinations. They said at least at least 6. Many combinations so that the x plus the y add up to 25. And the big thing we're working on today with simultaneous equations, whether it be graphically or algebraically, is if this is one graph, I could do a second graph, and we want to find the magic point where they cross. That's the point, that's the solution to both. And that's really the emphasis or the direction in which we are driving. So, here are 2 lines to graph. Let's find this solution graphically. Don't do it algebraically. Just do it graphically. Okay? I'll do it algebraically with you in a minute. Do the best you can. I'm not worried about if your answer's perfect. It just should be in the ballpark.
You and Mr. Bruno always say that.
We're both old.
He's like, just ballpark it.
Okay, so, let me just do something real quick in here. Hold on a second here. Yeah, okay, so I graphed the first one, the red one. I think everybody had a really easy time with the red one, agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And the blue one is kind of awkward because the y is negative, but we got to solve for y, which means get y by itself. And if I was doing this for myself, I would have just added y to both sides and subtracted 7, but I didn't think you would be too comfortable with that. So instead I subtracted the x because we're so used to the y being on the left, and then I divided by -1, and I get y equals x minus 7. And the problem I see with this particular graph is that clearly they're going to meet. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah.
But it doesn't look to me like they're going to meet on the graph. So that causes a bit of a problem, and it suggests to us that perhaps there are times and places where an algebraic solution is a better way to go. Now, we worked yesterday on problems like the cats and dogs problem, where it went something like this. 5c plus 2d is 17, 3c minus 4d is 11, and we lined up the variables, and we called that the elimination technique. So far, so good? Did you notice that these variables are not lined up?
Yes.
Yeah, they are not. So you have two choices. You could possibly rearrange them so that they line up, like get all the x's on top of the x's and the y's on top of the y's and the numbers on top of the numbers. Or we can go to a different technique. And that technique is called the substitution technique. Now, ladies, girls, who is the hottest looking guy in the universe? Who? Cole Haynes?
Colton Haynes.
Colton Haynes. I don't, you have to forgive me, I don't know who that is.
I don't know why. You should look it
Put it on the screen right here.
Oh, would you put that away? He's shirtless. Now, okay, so now let me ask you a question, in all honesty, ladies. Colton Haynes comes to your door for a date.
I pretend
You do?
Yes.
Why?
No, only you kidding.
Oh, he's
He's
ugly?
so ugly. He's like 35 years old.
And he's still called kidding.
He really is.
Okay,
He's been
so
dating since like 16.
he knocks on the door, and he goes inside, and he's a really nice guy. And he asks your dad if it's okay, if he takes you out on a date, and he's gonna take you to like your favorite restaurant, Mickey D's? No. I mean, a really, really, really good restaurant. And he's got a limo, or for certain girls in here, maybe a pickup truck, okay? And he even brings you as a present a dozen roses and a puppy dog.
Oh, puppy
So-
dog.
So Colton is definitely scoring points in a big way. And you have the greatest date you could ever imagine, and you're falling head over heels in love. And then, and then, all of a sudden, you find out it wasn't Colton Haynes.
What?
But it was
No,
his
it didn't.
exact identical twin.
It doesn't matter. as
Doesn't
long as
matter.
He looks
I
like
know.
him.
Bingo! That's the point I was driving at. Yasmin got right to the heart of the matter. Yasmin said, who cares? He still looks like a hunk.
Wait, no one's
So, now, it's Colton Haynes' exact identical twin. The fact is, it doesn't make any difference. And you actually do this all the time with vending machines. The vending machine says it wants $1, but you don't have any dollar bills, or it says, or sometimes it'll say like exact change required. So instead of using a dollar bill, what could you use?
$1 coin.
4 quarters, or 10 dimes, or 20 nickels. As long as the things are equal, you can substitute one of those things for another one of those things, anytime, any place, as long as they are equal. So the first technique we did with solving simultaneous equations was called the elimination technique. That's when they lined up one on top of another. This technique I'm about to show you is called the Colton Haynes technique. No, it's called the substitution technique because equals can be substituted for equals anytime, any place. So let's go back to the first equation, which said y equals 2x plus 1, and the second equation, which says x minus y equals 7. And the problem is that they're not lined up on top of each other. So I can forget all about the technique from yesterday. But what I can tell you is that a y is the same exact thing as a 2x plus 1.
No.
Just the same as a dollar is the same exact thing as 4/4. That's the mathematical attempt. Or Colton Haynes is the exact identical twin of the guy that came to your door.
His brother.
I can tell you that if Shania Twain's exact identical twin sister came to my door, I wouldn't go, I don't know. I don't think it would work like that. Oh, you poor boy. Okay, so now she's a country singer, and she's very, very, very pretty.
You said you were going to show us and never did.
Or maybe one day I will. She's very, very pretty.
Show us on the recording.
Perhaps I'll do that in a little while, but first I want to make sure we know how to do this. Now, I'm getting very scared that I mentioned Colton Haynes' name, and Yasmin is now no longer interested in math in any way, shape, or form. Now, the thing is that the y is exactly the same as a 2x plus 1. So instead of the y here, I can put a 2x plus 1. So I'm going to keep the x, I'm going to keep the minus, I'm going to keep the equals, I'm going to keep the 7. Everything stays the same, but I'm going to substitute. Substitute means to exchange. Instead of the y, I'm going to put a 2x plus 1. Be careful to put a parenthesis around it, because you're putting the whole 2x plus 1 in for this. Now, I have a single equation with a single variable, and I can get it right. Just distribute the negative sign. X minus 2x minus 1 equals 7. X minus 2x is negative x. Minus 1 is 7. Add 1 to both sides. Negative x is 8. Divide by negative 1. X is negative 8. And doesn't it look like if these two graphs keep going, eventually they'll meet down there?
Yes.
And when they meet down there, the value of x will be negative 8. Okay? And what would the value of y be? Well,
I don't know yet.
I can come right up to here and use this top equation, because it says y equals 2x plus 1. We know x is negative 8, so y equals 2 times negative 8 plus 1, so y is negative 15.
Wow. I remember doing that last year.
All right, so we have, one technique is going to be well, we actually have several techniques. We have the graphic technique, we have the elimination technique, and we also have the algebraic technique. I'm sorry, the substitution technique. Okay, so, all right, there's the last of our examples, and now we know every technique on the face of the earth. Hunter, I'm going to make your day. Oh, here we go. Safari.
Are you gonna search up Colton Haynes?
Not a chance.
Can you?
I am going to inspire Hunter to like country. Now, I get that she's a little bit old for an 8th grader, but she's very country, very down to earth, so on and so forth.
So is Colton Haynes. He's from like Texas.
Well, you know, with a name like Colton, he definitely sounds like he's from Texas.
He's really hot.
He might know, well, I'm not going to comment on a guy's hotness, but
And then you'll fall in love with him too. And
I
when he
don't
talks
think
about-
I'm falling in love with Colton Haynes anytime soon.
She's not the prettiest I've seen.
She, you know what? I just think she's like kind of a wholesome girl next door kind of thing. So, plus she shares the same manager as Springsteen.
After this,
Who?
do you have a class after this?